Your payment processor is actually probably the most important part of your entire business when it comes to e-commerce. There's not a whole lot of talk about that, and you have so many options. There's like third-party processors like Stripe and I don't know, Square, Braintree. I mean, there's so many, PayPal. And then there's full-blown merchant accounts that you go through like authorize.net, and there's tons of those. What a lot of people don't realize is that once you get put on like a match list, or once things go sour and you're deemed a high risk business, there's not a whole lot of options. Sure, there's high risk merchant accounts, but those only go so far. And if you're, deemed that you have too many chargebacks, you're done. And that's what I wanted to talk about. Is one of my e-commerce stores actually sells a cheaper product, is being plagued by a scam. And the issue is chargebacks. So let me kind of explain here. It's kind of a popular scam, but one that like I never realized because I had a more high value per order business. So we're doing, I don't know, over 300 average order, and plenty of orders of 1,000 plus, because you're selling fitness equipment, weights, it's expensive. But once I started selling, stuff like 40-50 bucks average order size, I started to get hit with a lot of chargebacks. Chargebacks is when obviously someone calls the bank and says, hey, I have a charge on my card that I don't recognize. Your credit card files a chargeback against the merchant. I got to fork over the money during an investigation, right? So there's a lot of different scams that go along with that, but this is a serious one, right? Some people refer to it as the drop shipping scam, and it's one that's plaguing so many businesses across the world, and it seems unstoppable. Like they still haven't really figured out how to plug this issue. And I'll explain how you can try to find ways to stop fraud, but this circumvents a lot of them. So let me just get to it. Okay, so an individual, say you're selling a product, any product really. I don't know, it's just an example, like a protein powder, right? So you got this protein powder, you're selling on your website. Someone like the fraudster, right, will list your protein powder on eBay, on any one of these, Etsy, I don't know, wherever. They'll sell it online, right? Your exact identical product. When someone buys that product from them, what they will do is they'll come to your website with a stolen credit card number and order the product, and as the shipping address they'll put the customer who bought it from them on that third party platform. You see what I'm saying here? So and here's the thing, these numbers, that the credit card numbers they get, they're leaked, right? So they circumvent all of the different things that I do to find if something's fraud, meaning they know the CVV of the card, they know the billing zip code, they know everything. They'll come from an ad. I mean, they get there and it's nothing out of the ordinary. And they have that bottle sent. It's also hard to catch because first off, they target small dollar items, right? So people are less likely to invest, like law enforcement, a substantial amount of resources to track down who's doing it. But also, because at the end of the day, like, how do I explain this? If the law enforcement tracks down, what do they have really? The shipping address. Well, they go to the shipper's just some schmuck who ordered it somewhere else. So what can they do? Okay, we're going to remove the listing off Etsy or wherever, eBay, they're selling it. Well, it'll just pop up somewhere else. And they'll do this over and over and over. And I think that the biggest thing with these types of fraud is the shipping. Like, where do you get it delivered that you can get away with it? Well, this way they found a way to circumvent it. So this has been something that has been hitting me lately, and I've been trying to find a way to kind of get around that. I never thought I would have to deal with this. A certain level of chargebacks is just something you deal with in business. But if you're willing to dish a refund when someone asks something's defective, they're not happy, just refund it. Then you reduce your chargebacks greatly. It's frustrating when people do a chargeback for these kind of things because I can't handle it. But now and then someone will call or to send me an email and be like, hey, I got this charge from your website. I didn't order anything. I'll call them up and I'll be like, hey, you didn't order this? You know what? It's probably this fraud. I'll refund it, and I really appreciate that. So in the future, if you ever see a charge that you don't recognize on your card, try reaching out to the business before doing a chargeback, because your merchant account, you can only have so many chargebacks, and they will cut you loose, and then you get put on a match list and you're done. Like, it's very difficult to manage your business when you can't accept payments. There's so many options, but all these options tap into the same database, kind of like check systems for checking accounts. There is a match list by MasterCard put together with high risk accounts where they incur debt or they get your account disconnected, and then you have to deal with that. So e-commerce and everything, it all sits on a very delicate balance where everything can kind of be. So people are like, oh well, you're doing this, you're making money, so you're fine. It's like, every day you worry because small things can stack up, and you never can relax. I guess running a business is never a situation where you can relax. So I don't know. The biggest solutions to do that, you can use PayPal. As much as people hate on PayPal, if you work PayPal the right way, you can use it. The biggest thing is, I diverge here. I'm talking about other things. But if you use PayPal and you ever had problems or you heard PayPal's bad, they're not. What key you have to do is that you have to install in your Shopify store or Etsy, wherever. You have to you have to post to PayPal, and there's little apps that'll do this automatically. You're tracking to every single PayPal transaction you have. Add tracking immediately to that transaction. You do that, you're good. Anybody files a case, says fraud, if they use PayPal, you win. I've won 100% of everything that I've had on PayPal. Why? Because PayPal only ships to the billing address that's registered on PayPal. And if it ends up being fraud, they cover it for you. The important thing is that you always have tracking on the thing. And I know a lot of people are like, well, I only put tracking on PayPal if they file a case. Don't. PayPal looks at all of the stats, and it just looks more solid as a merchant is if you have tracking on every single order. It's just good for the books. I've never had an issue. Well, I've had issues before with PayPal, but once I started this, never had any more issues. Other than that, Amazon Pay is another one you can use because they guarantee the thing. So a lot of people want to do 3PLs, but and they say Amazon's difficult, ship your own stuff, and it's like, man, I gotta be honest. There's some big advantages. Even though the fees are high, using Amazon, using PayPal, is you're covered. You're covered from chargebacks. You don't have to worry about them shutting you off as long as you're doing the right thing. You know what I mean? So I don't know. Those are just some thoughts. What do you guys think? Hope everyone's doing well. My son, he had a little doctor's appointment, so he's been a little fussy. Every time he goes to the doctor, he gets shots these days. So he gets real fussy. But we've been carrying on. But anyway, I just wanted to update you guys because I thought that whole scam situation was kind of interesting and perhaps relevant to other people. But anyway, thank you for tuning in. As always, stay safe, buy red, and sell green.